So, welcome everyone. Welcome to today's podcast. I am super excited to be interviewing this amazing person. She's coming to us from Chicago. Her name is Anna Leonarda. Now, Anna is a 9-year breast cancer survivor, and already that is amazing. Who's, due to the development of, the dysfunction, so sexual dysfunction with intercourse, and we've always talked about this. Most of us have spoken about how intercourse, a lot of women who've gone through their breast cancer or any of cancer, they find it really hard to get intimate again. So after her divorce, she realized she found a traditional dating app to be too intimidating. So, and I thought that was quite interesting how you said that, because it's very much, it's very confronting for a lot of women. So she knew she wasn't alone. So she took action to find a solution for those with sexual limitations. Having said all this, welcome, Anna.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
That's all. You're more than welcome. Now, Anna, first of all, I want to congratulate you on 9 years breast cancer survivor. Like I said, anyone from 2 days to 25 years or 40 years for me is great. I'm a breast cancer survivor of 3 years now. So I take my hat off, and I love speaking to people who have come through, not because you've come through, you've survived breast cancer. It's what you've done. It's the process, the whole journey. So I just want you to share with us basically your whole journey and what made you come to this, this decision to make this app or to look at this app.
Great. So when I was younger, I had endometriosis. And with endometriosis, it can cause painful intercourse. So I kind of dealt with that all my life. And then it got worse. Intercourse became impossible. And I developed a condition called vaginismus. And what vaginismus is where the internal opening of the muscles of the vagina were involuntarily spasming. And I didn't know what was going on. I felt like when I was with my husband at the time, I felt like I was hitting a wall or something. So I ended up going to the doctor, and she said that I had something called vaginismus. And I didn't really understand what was going on. And I've always dealt with the painful intercourse, and I just thought it was normal. I mean, I thought, well, this is just how I'm going to be. But when it got to the point where I couldn't even insert a tampon and intercourse was impossible, they told me about the vaginismus and how I had to go through physical therapy and use dilators and everything, and to stretch out the opening. And I just it was a long process for that. So I started trying to do the therapy, and then I found a lump in the shower on my breast, and then I ended up getting diagnosed with breast cancer. I was 36 years old at the time. I ended up having 3 tumors on my left breast, and I had to have a total of 6 surgeries, including a double mastectomy, a deep flap surgery for reconstruction, chemotherapy, and I also ended up having a hysterectomy. So with the hysterectomy and then being forced into menopause at such a young age, the intercourse was even worse. I mean, the vaginal dryness and the pain, and the last thing I wanted to do was use my dilators. But what happened was I ended up getting a divorce about 3 years ago, and I thought, what am I going to do now that I'm single, and how am I going to go on a dating app and find out, tell a guy that I'm dating, hey, I have vaginismus. I can't have intercourse. It's too painful. I enjoy other types of intimacy. It's just I can't have intercourse. And I thought, how am I going to tell guys that I'm going to get rejected. I'm going to be embarrassed, cheated on, who knows what. And then I thought, it's just easier to stay single. And I thought, wait a minute, this isn't right. I went through all this for a reason, this breast cancer, endometriosis, vaginismus, and I needed to do more. I needed to help people. And I started thinking about men that have sexual dysfunction, erectile dysfunction. And I realized that it's a big problem. Like in the US alone, there's 30 million men that have ED. And worldwide, it's about they're expected to be about 320 million men with ED. And I thought, well, how do they date? How do they find companionship without being rejected or embarrassed? Because I mean, imagine that pressure that they would have to go on a date and then wonder, when should I tell this person I'm dating that I can't, that I have ED? And I thought, well, how do we bring these people together? People like myself who can't have intercourse and don't prefer not to have intercourse with individuals like that have ED. So I thought, well, I need to do something about this to help these people. And I created a dating app that takes sexual expectations out of dating. And it's called Entwine. It went live the end of August. And I'm just super excited about it because it's much needed, and individuals like myself that have these limitations, they deserve to be loved too. So I'm taking care of that and hoping that it brings a lot of successful stories and about love, and I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, no, and I'm super excited for you because this is really brilliant. Thank you for sharing that so far. I just wrote down some notes here because I just wanted to go back. And you were saying that you were having pain with sexual intercourse and things like that. Did you find that through time it was starting to get more and more hurtful, or was it from pretty much the time that you lost your virginity that was always painful?
Yeah, it was actually before I even became sexually active. The use of tampons was painful, and I thought,
Right.
well, and I never said anything to anybody because I thought, well, I guess that's the way it's supposed to be, right? Putting
Mm.
you inserting and removing it was just like, why does it hurt so bad? But I'm like, well, you don't talk to your girlfriends about that. I mean, now I talk to everybody about everything, but uh, I
Yeah.
mean, I walk around and tell everybody I have a broken vagina, and they're just looking at me like I'm crazy until I explain. But when I became sexually active, they're like, well, the
Yeah.
first time, second time's gonna hurt, and then I'm like, well, the third time hurt, and the fourth time hurt. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Mm.
So then I realized I had endometriosis, and then I had a couple surgeries for that. Thankfully, I was able to conceive 2 children. So I have a 19-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter, and so I was very lucky with that, being able to conceive. And, so, over time, I asked the doctor, I'm like, how did I get vaginismus? How did my vagina broke? How did it break?"
Mm.
And they said that the way they described it is if somebody would go up to you and punch you in the stomach, every time they saw you, they would punch you in the stomach. Eventually, when their fist approached you, you would back up and you would flinch. And that's what my vaginal muscles are doing. It's just a natural reaction. It's the anticipation of having pain. My body's natural reaction is just to spasm and just not allow anything internally. And,
Mm.
and I thought, I heard from a lot of people that are just like, well, it's all in your head. Even before I got diagnosed with the vaginismus, I would tell the doctor, it's painful for intercourse. It's not pleasurable because it hurts all the time. And they're like, well, just have a glass of wine, just relax, you'll be okay. Or my girlfriends will be like, well, you were probably with the wrong guy. And I'm like, well, I married my eighth grade person. I met my ex-husband when I was in eighth grade. So I was only with one man all my life. And but still, like, everybody just kind of like blew me off, especially the doctors,
Mm.
which I was surprised about it. But and I realized that's a common response was have a glass of wine, just relax. You're too nervous or whatever it is. Um, but even like for an example, when I was under anesthesia to have a vaginal hysterectomy, I was under anesthesia, and my gynecologist is said that she couldn't even get instruments in me. She said I was, unconscious or, under sedation, and everything was just spasming. So it's not all mental, it's both. But
Mm.
uh, yeah, it's I've always dealt with it, and then, because of all the pain, I ended up, my libido diminished, but then with the
Mm.
chemo and the being forced into menopause, it just exacerbated everything. So, and that's why, I mean, the treatment of using the dilators was pretty uncomfortable. So I thought, I don't want to fix it anymore. I just want to leave it alone. And it is curable. There's people that do have it, that they do seek treatment and they have success. It's just I chose not to to do it anymore. I just rather just avoid it.
Mm. Yeah, and just going with that too, because you said like a lot of women who go through. I mean, like you said, you had a double mastectomy. Am I right? You
Correct.
said yes, right. So you've had a double mastectomy, you've had a hysterectomy, and the thing is too, yourself, myself, we know how the woman's body works. It needs different things to function, the hormones and estrogens and everything like that. It creates what we do. So when you actually take away, especially when you have a hysterectomy, you take away that, and then you're like, yeah, you're going into an early menopause, which you should be getting at the age of 50, 60, whatever it is, you know.
Right.
So what happens is speaking to other women, they say that, I mean, yours started before that, and I understand, but I really wanted to touch on this base and wanted the listeners to realize that it's not just about having this happen to you earlier on in the journey, but a lot of women that I spoke to don't feel like having sex because it's uncomfortable. It hurts. It's a lot drier.
Mhm.
They don't want to be lubing up all the time. You know what I mean? They try different things. They try, having sex toys and things like that to help in their partnership and things. But, it's like that, and I did, for a while, I was like that. I was a little bit, it's quite interesting. Because when I had the breast cancer, I felt really reserved. Not reserved that I didn't want to give my husband, have sex with my husband and pleasure and things like that, but I felt scared. And what was happening there is I was like, oh, this isn't going to work, to the point, and I'm speaking honestly and freely as well, is because to the point where I'd have sex and it got to the point where it was painful later. But in my case, what happened was, because I was like, oh, well, how can I say it? Because I was in pain, like you said. And when my husband was penetrating, he would make tiny, like we're talking tiny little slits on my vagina. And what was happening is the next time it'll get painful because it's like an open wound.
Mhm.
It's like a cut. So when I went to the doctor, I was like, oh, this is really painful. I can't have sex because it's really painful. Like, it was getting to the point where I was pushing. As much as I wanted my husband, I was pushing him because it was painful. And then in my case, I had to get a cream. But again, the thing is that cream was estrogen based. And
Mhm.
I had to make sure with my surgeon that having this cream was okay, because I didn't want to fix one problem but create another problem. So this is why I wanted to express that, because a lot of women I heard also, and the reason I had these little slits is because I was not forcing him, but I was like, I don't want him to miss out. But after sex, it was like, Jesus, I feel like I've just been ripped open.
Right.
Um, but the thing is, it gets to that point where I believe that, like you're saying, if you want to have it, it's got to be done in a way that you're both enjoying it. Because if one party enjoys it, but the other one is scared, and I was like that too. I was actually pulling back every time my husband would want to, have sexual intercourse, be intimate. I'd be pulling back as well, because I'm like, oh no, it's going to hurt. It's going to
Mhm.
hurt. It's going to hurt. And things like that. But I also heard that a lot of people, a lot of women also, they experience that after, their chemo, their radiation things. They don't want the husband to miss out, and things like that. So this is where I would ask now, someone who's feeling like, because for a woman, I mean, I know you just said you divorced three years ago, but for a woman not being able to satisfy her partner, it's not that you don't want to, it's because it's painful.
Right.
So yeah. So this is where I would ask now. So with yourself, how did you come across this app, and how is this app different, say, than, like you said, another dating app? What is something that's there that people can already see in advance, that it's not like, oh, by the way, this is what I've got, and they go, oh, I had no idea, or you know what I mean? Because it is a personal subject,
Mhm.
and you don't want to be sharing that with every guy you meet, I guess. But so, how does your app work?
So, I'm trying to carefully market it to reach the individuals that do have sexual limitations, but there's people also that don't have sexual limitations that I found that are on the app that they just are tired of going to, like, these traditional dating apps that they're hookup sites. So, I wanna make it clear to everybody when I do, like, post on, social media, just so someone knows, okay, this is more for, like, somebody that has ED or vaginismus or painful intercourse, and I would imagine most people that don't have sexual limitations that do want sex, that they would not use the app because it's like in the intro screens, it'll say, like, what the app is about, and, so and again, there's people that are on there that they're actually my friends that I'm like, "Well, I didn't know you had sexual dysfunction." Like, "Well, I don't. I'm just tired of dating people and all they want is to have sex. I'd rather have an emotional connection. If I don't have sex with them, I don't care. I'd rather have that emotional connection." So
Mhm.
it seems like a variety of people are signing up, for the app, but I would never in my opinion, I would never use a traditional app, and it kind of I proved myself why I created this app because I would start talking to individuals, guys that I would meet at a bar or whatever it was, wherever I was at, and they would ask me for my number, and I would say, "Well, let me talk to you about a dating app that I'm creating, and let me talk you to this is I have a story about why I'm not really dating anybody right now. I have a broken vagina." And they're like, "What?"
Mhm.
And then I'll start telling them about my issue and my app, and they're like, the very insensitive comments that I received makes me realize I need to do this app because the comments I received, like, for example, uh, the first comments I received were, "Well, you have the perfect reason why a guy would not wanna be with you because you can't have sex."
Mm.
Well, wow, that's not good. I'm like, imagine a girl or a guy, anybody that would go on a date and then hear that, like so then I thought, "Okay, that's not a really nice answer." So then I got another one was, "Well, you have other holes," and, that was really classy. I heard that several times from men. And,
Wow.
"Is what about anal?" I'm like, "Well, why do I even have to talk to you about that? No, I don't wanna do anal. I mean, I've already have pain all my life, and now I'm gonna try to see if I could have pain in that hole, if you wanna say it." So,
Yeah.
and there was a few guys that said that, like, "Well, if you could do anal, who cares?" I'm like, "Well,
Wow.
you know what? I don't wanna be with a guy like that." So,
Mm.
and I thought, like, what if there's a guy or a girl that go on a date, and then 3 dates in, that other person is, like, with the limitations, has to say, "Hey, by the way, I can't have intercourse," or "I have this issue, with, like, this sexual dysfunction or limitation," and then that person's just like, "Oh, great, I don't wanna be with you," or who knows what they would say, or they
Mm.
would say, "You have other holes," and it's just
Mm.
and they might be devastated and just never go out on a date again, or never wanna meet anybody new because of remembering what they said, but I'm strong enough, I can handle it. I'm like that's why I tell people right away, of my issue. And my girlfriends are like, "Why do you tell the guys right away? Why don't you wait? Why don't you wait to get to know them? Make sure, maybe they won't care about your issue." And I'm like, "Why am I gonna get emotionally attached with them and then to have to tell them, and then the guy's gonna be like, 'Well, no, I need sex.' And then I'm gonna get dumped and, that's I didn't wanna go through that. So that's why I tell everybody right away, and I feel like with this app, Entwine, it's kind of the same thing. If you sign up for this app, it takes away the sexual limitation or sexual expectations out of dating. So if they do sign up for it, they know that intercourse may not be a possibility, and if that's not okay with them, then they shouldn't go on the app.
Mm. Mm. 'Cause the thing is too, you gotta, which just, that's horrible for people to assume that, other sexual positions is going to, "Oh, well, you got other holes," which not everyone, like you said, not everyone does anal, not everyone does, how do you say it? What's the word I'm trying to look for? But, they do other things. Oral, that's what I'm trying to say. Not everyone's into that, so it's finding ways of connecting with your partner, like you said, without having that fear of rejection,
Mhm.
because, it is, the thing is, it wouldn't be nice, I don't think it'll be nice if, God forbid, I had to have a double mastectomy, and my husband says, "Well, I can't have sex with you because, you don't have your original breast or anything."
Mhm.
It can be degrading for a woman, because it's not that you didn't ask for this, you didn't
Right.
sign up for this.
Mhm.
So you're trying to come through, be intimate, because connection with another human being is what we all need, but it's how you go about it. And I guess, in the way you described it, having people who are very, I believe they're very narrow minded, those people, obviously, because like you said, there's the guys that say those things, but, I'm sure that you've come across guys that says, "Oh, I get where she's coming from, because, I have this." And for a guy, not being able to be there for their partner is, see, girls are, when we say girls are different, women are different than men. We're different because men have the old brain to co-produce, and that is why men want to have sex,
Mhm.
and women don't find that co-producing so much because what they're doing is a woman thinks of childbirth or bearing a child. So that's why a woman finds one partner. And for them, it's like, okay, I have sex to have a child, so to speak. So that's where our brains are different. So men want sex more than women, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But, at the same time, having that sort of moment where you say, well, I'm keen to have a partner, but hey, and yeah, this could happen anytime with anyone, I guess. What I'm trying to say is, so, have you come across someone who has, that you have spoken to about, your broken vagina, let's call it that. And they were like, oh, yeah, cool. Like, and moved on from there.
I haven't come across anybody yet.
Yeah.
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But what's the general reaction? Do you get the same reaction over again? Like, is it the same? Because for me, the way I look at it, and honestly, the way I look at it, I feel like asking my husband, like, hey, what, not anything, but what is a man thinking? Why would a man, if that question, I've got a broken vagina. I would love to ask my husband, that question. Well, if I was like that, what would you think? Why would you think it's no good? Does that make sense? And find out what their needs are and why they don't think that you can still fulfill their needs in other ways. Does that make sense? Because men who say, well, you've got other holes are only thinking, they're just thinking of themselves.
Right.
Whereas if my husband or any other man would say, well, that's okay, because I'm sure that we can find other ways to get intimate.
That's a proper response you'd think that you would receive. But I think when someone's in a marriage or a relationship already, and then they suddenly have a form of sexual dysfunction, I think that's where they should work together and be like, "Well, hey, hey, I love you for you, not for, having sex or intercourse," and they work it out. They do other forms of intimacy, and there's outer course, there's, other different even holding hands and kissing and cuddling,
Mm,
and,
mhm,
and I feel like when you meet somebody new, they're not gonna think that. They're not gonna think there's other forms of intimacy because maybe they're not emotionally attached to you yet. So it's I don't know if I'm sure there's guys out there. I mean, I did meet one guy that said like, "Oh, I don't care about that. I don't care about that. I'll give you a call." And then he never did. So is that why? I
mm,
don't know. Maybe he just didn't want to hurt me. But I was like, just be honest. I'd rather you be honest. And I do hear guys are like, "Why?" To be honest, I can't ever be with you because you can't have
mm,
sex. It's really important for me. But like, I don't know. I think more women are a little more sensitive. I think to it. Um, But then again, my girlfriends, they would go on traditional dating apps, and they were just surprised of how many guys that they would date that, like, the second date in, they're like, "Well, I know I have diabetes, and I have ED, or I have prostate cancer, or I had, a heart condition where I can't take, Viagra," whatever the word is, whatever medication, and,
mm,
and there's a lot of them out there. So it's like, imagine how intimidating that is for them to use traditional dating apps because these women are like, "Forget that, I need sex." So
yeah.
it goes both ways, and I feel like if I didn't have an app like the one I created, I'm not on it right now, but I'm focusing on growing it and helping others first, but, if there wasn't a dating app like Entwine, I probably would not have dated because it's like, what are the odds of me meeting somebody that's gonna be like, "I don't care that you can't have intercourse. I like you just the way you
Mm,
are," And, yeah, it's I wanna take the guessing game out of the picture for all these individuals, and cards are on the table right away. You use this app, you don't even have to explain what your limitation is until you meet the person. You don't have to put in your description, "About me" section. You don't have to say why you're using the app. It's up to them if they wanna disclose that. It could be from sexual trauma. could be for somebody that's on antidepressants. There's just like a variety of reasons, not even cancer related.
Mm, mm. Yeah, because the thing is, like you said, for a man, because that could be, it's hard for a man to say like, oh, by the way, I can't perform.
Mhm.
And yes, women are more sensitive to that because if a woman generally likes a man and really gets connected with that guy and he says, look, I really can't perform like that, there are some women that go, hey, I don't really care, I'm sure we can figure out something. But it is different for a man. That's what I mean. It's like, oh, hang on a minute, what do you mean? Like, but that's why I find it so, I and like you said, this so going back to, because you said how many men there were who had, like some sort of, issues having sex. But do you know how many women are having these issues, like what you got diagnosed with? Are there many, or is there a minority?
I honestly didn't I couldn't find exact statistics about it because I think a lot of them
Mm,
are struggling with some sort of sexual limitation or dysfunction. They just don't go to the doctor. Or like myself, I
yeah.
didn't know until it got to the point where it was like severe vaginismus. But, I probably had it before, but I just or they went to the doctor, they got blown off. "Oh, yeah,
Mm,
have a glass of wine." So I think that the statistics out there are not very accurate for women because they're just not reporting it. And it seems like I don't think doctors even have the answers. It's like if you go there and you say, "I don't have my libido's not good." "Oh, sorry, there's nothing we can do." It's like, "Guys,
yeah.
take a pill, take this, take that." And for women, it's like, really, we don't have any answers, which
Mm,
shouldn't be right. But so the statistics are not out there that I could find. Even for I'm kind of bouncing all over the place, but for veterans, for
mm,
example, I
mhm,
was I'm
mhm.
on a erectile dysfunction support group. And I follow what these guys are putting on the forum. They're like, "Well, um, I give up. I don't wanna date anymore. Uh, I'm just, I don't know why I'm living anymore." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I'm like, "This guy's
Mm,
suicidal because he has ED, and he's lonely," and then I would see another post like that. "I have ED and, why am I living? I'm tired of this," and they're young. They're in their 30s or early 20s, it's not right because I wanna just, like, jump on there and just be like, "No, there's a dating app for people like us," but I don't. But, so then I started doing some more research, and I realized that there's veterans out there that they have PTSD, and they're on antidepressants, and a lot of them are suicidal. And there wasn't exact again, there's not exact statistics, but they were saying, like, a lot of the people that were committing suicide, men and women, that were veterans, that they were in the office for therapy earlier saying that they had sexual dysfunction
mm.
and they think that's one of the reasons why the person committed suicide, and that's horrible.
Wow.
It's like
Mm.
there's an answer for that. There is someone that's gonna accept you for you, and they don't think that because they probably had 5, 6 people reject them already, and they're tired of it, and they're lonely, and they feel like there's no hope, and I'm hoping Entwine can provide that hope for them that they've been waiting for, and
Yeah, same here. I hope so too, because like you said, everyone needs that human connection. And when I talk about it, it doesn't necessarily have to be like physically like sex, but you do need to have that. And it's a shame that a lot of people are going through that, where they feel like they're not loved unless they perform. And yeah, and like you said, a lot of medications also stop a lot of women, from wanting to have sex as well because they get dry, they just don't feel up to it, things like that. And I see that a lot too. There's a lot of women that go, look, if and I get it. It is different when you have a partner than as opposed to trying to date for the first time. Or go back into the dating game because it's not like it used to be, but it's a lot different. So, and the thing is too, as we get older, we all have some sort of baggage that comes with us in our next relationship, or as you get older, we sort of always ask that question, unless you've been in prison 20 years, what's your story, um so, but that's the thing too. I think the more that you educate people and make them better understand that, you know, uh, this is normal, guys. It's okay. I think that would be really, really profound going forward, because that's where people can, like you said, I'm really, glad that you done this app, because you need people to be able to express how they feel in a way where they're not being judged. It's, and like you said, it's like, okay, if you want to, where there's a billion apps out there, no one tells you you must be on this app. So if you're on the app, it's obviously because you believe that it's going to benefit you.
Mhm.
And therefore you don't have that other part, like you said, these dating apps, swipe to the left, swipe to the right, whatever that one is, Tinder or something. I don't even know. See? So, and what's the first thing that people expect? Sex.
Yep.
It's like, oh, okay. So what, it's basically, it's just another way of going to a prostitute without paying, I guess. You know what I mean? That's to me what
Yeah.
Tinder is. You know what I mean? Both goes both ways though, for male or female. But
Sure.
and like you said, I think this app is really, really important, because there are people that are struggling out there. All they want is to find a partner to do things with, to spend times with, and not let this part of the relationship get in the way,
Right.
you know? Um, I think that's really, really important. Having said that, like, I'm not sure if you've actually spoken or had the view of a sex therapist. Like what they would say. Have you, if you've have actually ever asked one, or you know, because like we're saying, the thing is with intimacy, it's not just about penetrating intercourse. There's so much ways of being intimate with another person, and I just wondered if you had come across someone like that, and if they suggested something or
I
anything like that?
I did talk to a male. He dealt with. He's a sex therapist for men with uh, erectile dysfunction,
Mhm.
and I talked to him about my app, and I said, do you think this is something where you? I think he had a podcast as well. Like, can we talk about this on your podcast, or whatever, or can you share it with your patients that do have ED, that they have this app to find companionship if they need it, and he said your app is a dead end app. And my patients want a solution. 99% of them want a solution. And they have options like penile implants or injections or pills that they can do that. And they're not going to want to just, your app's just saying that they gave up. And I was like, I don't agree with that, because I have a solution for my vaginismus, but I don't wanna do it because it's too painful. And who wants to get surgery? I mean, not everybody wants to do surgery, put penile implant or injections in their penis. And I heard there's like that causes severe headaches and and burning. And so I didn't really. I mean, I don't let that bring me down. I kind of like question, like, wait, that doesn't
Mm.
sound right, because there was another therapist I talked to, and like, well, that's not true, because there's patients that don't want to do surgery. I'm like, exactly. So it's just a matter of reaching the right people to
Mm.
that want to talk about the app, because if they're trying to promote a Viagra or whatever it is, they're probably not going to want to talk about my app, because my app's a dead end apparently. But so a lot of them are on my side, like pelvic floor therapists. They seem to be really excited about my app too. I mean, yeah, their job is to cure the people.
Mm.
So pelvic floor specialist, back in the day when I had my initially was diagnosed with vaginismus, and but yeah, of course their goal is to cure you, but you should have the option of whether or not you want to use those dilators. I might try the dilators again after cancer, and it felt like I got raped. It felt like what
Mm.
I were getting ripped out. It was after too. Like during, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And I wasn't doing it for myself because I never enjoyed intercourse. So I was doing it because I needed to have a pap smear for one, because
Mhm,
that's
mhm,
another
mhm,
reason why
mhm.
I needed to somehow um, use the dilators that I had. But it's just I I think I found a lot of women in the vaginismus support groups. They would say the same thing, where they're tired of using dilators because it's a long process. I mean, I could briefly go over it with you if you wanted me to, but
Mhm.
uh,
Yes, please do so. Yeah.
so uh, so they have when I went to my pelvic floor doctor. or therapist, she said, "Okay, you have these dilators, and there's 5 sizes. The first size is the size of a pinky, and it's like they describe it as like a plastic dildo with like a handle. So, so the first one's the size of a pinky, and then what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to insert it and leave it in there for about 10 minutes, and you're supposed to lay down, hold it in, because if you don't hold it in, it kinda pushes it out. Your muscles are, like, naturally just, like, spasming and
Mm,
pushing
mhm.
the, dilator out. And once you're able to, insert it and leave it in there without any pain, then you can graduate to the second size. And then it's just a little bit the circumference is a little bit, bigger. And then you just graduate, keep going up until you don't have any pain to the whatever size dilator you want. I mean, one of them, the 5th size was like, I call it Godzilla size. It was like size of zucchini or something. I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Wow.
I mean, it was like it was scary. I'm like, I'm gonna put that in the drawer and hold that forever, because I would that would scare me if I saw that in front of me." Um, so so
Wow.
and I made it to, like, size 3 dilator, and I was like, "Okay, it doesn't hurt." I'm like, "Okay, I'm okay." But then, and if you don't do it every day, if you don't use it 10 minutes a day every day, then you can kind of go back to, take a step back. But I got to the point where I got to size 3, but then it was like it felt like it was just no matter what size I used, it was just, like, so much pain. I'm like, "No, forget it. I don't wanna do this anymore." So these women are saying that they were using these dilators for their husband or for their boyfriend, and the amount of the women who are saying, like, their "My husband got tired of it. He was forceful. He wasn't patient with me anymore. So now I'm back to stage 1, dilator 1." And, boyfriends that did the same thing, or leave them and say, like, I need to have sex, and you're taking too long, and you're too fragile, blah, blah, blah." So, there's, like, I think there was, like, 17,000 people, women in that vaginismus group. So
Wow.
there's a
Mm.
lot of it there's a lot of people struggling with sexual limitations. And so the dilators were it's definitely it's effective, it works for people, but like I said, I just chose not to do it anymore because, first of all, I'm single. But even if
Mhm.
I met a guy and he knew that I was with a guy, actually, I told him that my issue is, uh, fixable, and they're like, "Oh, it is? Oh, okay, when are you gonna start using those dilators?" And I'm like, "Oh god, you know what? No. I don't
Mm.
wanna do it for someone else. I've already felt that pressure and that anxiety of knowing,
Mm.
like, 'Oh, no, I'm gonna have pain again,' or, no, it's just." Yeah. So it's not a dead end.
Yeah. Mm. No, but that's the thing too, because like I was saying before, you got women who, I mean, I go back to the people that have gone through chemo and all that, and a lot of women that I speak to, they don't want to have sex, and there are unfortunately a lot of women who go through their journeys and their husbands leave them.
Mhm,
So these are women who are already going through their own journey. And then they get to the point where it's like, well, I don't have a partner. And you know what? I don't have the drive like I used to. And like you said, then all of a sudden they're expected to have this drive and they're like, I don't want it. I don't feel, I don't, because it doesn't necessarily mean it's just painful. Some women don't feel the urge to have, intercourse. And, you just go like, I'm okay with not having it. It's going to be okay. And it's a matter of finding a partner like we're talking about that says, hey, and that's okay.
mhm,
Because there's a lot of women. I spoke to one woman who was, her husband was having an affair while she was going through cancer. So, this is the thing. It just gets to the point for a woman that she says, okay, I don't, I don't, like you're saying, I don't want to go through operations. If I had that issue, I wouldn't go through operations because I always say, don't touch something that's not broken in that sense. Don't keep touching it. Just
mhm,
let it be. Just let it be. Let it be. And the thing is, too, I know that you're saying about all of these things that you could do, but in the long run, you don't know the side effects. It could cause other issues, in the vaginal wall. It could cause a lot of great issues that you don't want to have. So, why force yourself to have the physical? Just get to the other parts that are beautiful, you know what I mean? Without, you know, feeling that pain. And like I said, there's a lot of women that I speak to who are back in the dating game. They've, you know, whether their husbands left them because they had cancer, or whether cancer made them wake up and realize, you know what, this is done.
Mhm.
And they're in the dating game again. So they're women our age, you know, that are dating again. And like you said, and there's a lot that I spoke to were like, oh, you know what? I just cannot be bothered with sex. I
Right.
can't, I don't want it. I don't want it. You know, and that's what I mean. It's very different for a woman than a man. It is very different. And it's because, you know, of our 1,000-year-old brain, how it works. It's normal. But yes, it's hard for a man to understand that, because they're like, no, that's part of a relationship. That's really, really, really important. And it's like, well, and like you're saying, that there's men in the same, it's quite interesting because there's men in the same boat as women, yet, you know, and as I said, I hope this app goes viral because it's needed, because men are suffering just as much as women
Mhm.
trying to connect with another human being. You know, and having painful instruments, that's not fun.
Of
To
course.
get operated, what for? What for? You, like I'm saying, you don't know the consequences. You get operated, it could cause even more problems. You're
Right.
not guaranteed.
It's true.
You know, and then what? And then what? You know what I mean? And then, and like you said, you use these instruments to help you first. And if you get the pressure from the other person, you're going to think, why am I doing this?
Yep.
And why am I hurting myself just to please? So, a sexual intercourse is supposed to be two parties having sex to orgasm at the same time, or both have this beautiful pleasure. That's what it's about. Not, oh, okay, I need to do this to give you pleasure, but I'm giving myself pain. It's not, you know, it's something that you don't enjoy, you
Right.
know. So,
You
so
got it.
yeah, so yeah, yeah, I think it's really, really, really important that, you know, as I said, and like you said, it doesn't necessarily mean it's an app like you described where it's dating without, you know, okay, like a Tinder, you know, this is what's expected on day one. And like you're saying that, you know, you're very open and verbal about the way you speak, and you say to men, you know, that, but and the way they react is very already different. So I think this app will probably help a lot more. Have you got any successful stories? Have you heard of anyone hooking up from the app and possibly living happily ever
Not
after?
not yet. I can't wait for that to happen, though. I did receive
Good.
some emails from, a couple of people. One of them was a woman that said that she has been single for 15 years, and
Wow.
she was too afraid to date because she just has, painful intercourse all her life also, and she just doesn't wanna be with anybody because she didn't want that pressure, and she said now that, Entwine is like she just was like the answer she's been waiting for. So that was really great to hear. So I told her, I'm like, "Please give me updates if you have any success stories." And, same with a gentleman that reached out to me, he said the same thing. He's like he has something called Peyronie's, Peyroines. It's a curvature of the penis where they're not
Okay.
able to have intercourse or it's too painful to have erections.
Mm.
And and I and he said that he had that, and he has that, and he when he would go on dates, he's like, he "I'm a fraud. I feel like a fraud. I tell these women, I don't tell them anything until, like, 3 or 4 dates in, and then it's just like I've been lying to them." He's like, "This is
Mm.
an app that where I don't have to lie anymore. I could just be myself. I can go on this app, and I don't have to explain what my condition is because 'cause I know that they'll accept me the way I am because they know already that, like, I have some kind of sexual limitation." So I haven't received any successful matches, but I'm hoping that happens soon, and right now it's only available in the US,
Mhm.
so I don't have too many users yet, but, I mean, I have about 80. I mean, it's not a lot,
Mm.
so I also don't want people to sign up for it and then just be like, "Oh, there's only 4 people in the area." I'm like, I don't want them to give up. I want them that's why I'm trying my best, working as much as I can to get users so that they have the best experience, and
Mm.
once I get a good, that it's successful and it starts growing more, then I'm gonna definitely reach out to other countries 'cause I've already had, uh, someone from UK and Canada, Pakistan, India, Australia,
Mm.
just like all these people are saying, like, when are you going to put this app available in our country? We need this in our country. And they're like people that are in their 20s. It's just it's all these variety of range of ages. And I know this is needed worldwide, and that's my ultimate goal, is to have this available worldwide, because I don't want to tell people, oh, sorry, it's not available in your country yet, because I know
Mm.
they need it. And
Mhm.
and I feel like this is going to save a lot of people's lives, literally, because there's a lot of people that are lonely out there and depressed. And I'm hoping this app will give them the confidence that they need to enter that dating world again.
Yeah, and I hope so too, because you're so right. Like I always say, people need human connection. They need to be, especially in times where we've been through the last 2 years, where most of us, if some of us are isolated and things like that, it has gotten a lot of people more depressed, in a mental state and things like that. And just to, like you're saying, it's just to share your life with someone without this, this label, whatever you want to call it, hanging over your head. Because I guess, there are people that understand. There are people that in the world, I am 100% sure that your app would attract the right people, because there are people out there that understand. They'll be like, sure, I get it. It's all good. Um, and that's all we got to do, is we're going to just attract the right people, and not the narrow-minded, people out there, because it's really needed. Like you said, it saves lives, because especially for a male, where he thinks that he's not good enough, it puts a lot of pressure on a man, that they feel like, oh, okay, I'm never going to be good enough for this woman.
Mhm.
And the thing is, you can provide to a woman as much as a woman can provide to a man, so much in life, that this doesn't have to be an issue, really doesn't. So I wanted to ask you, is there anything else? Because I mean, I'll definitely, you want to, you've got some giveaways to help. So I wanted to touch on that. So I'm going to obviously put in all your sites. You're on social media, which is awesome. So you're on Instagram, Entwine_dating. You're on Facebook, Entwine Dating, Twitter, Entwine Dating, and of course your website, www.entwinedating.com. So what is available for our listeners and our viewers out there?
Right now, the Entwine is free, so you have really nothing to lose. Just sign up for Entwine, and there could be somebody there uh, that's waiting for you, and it could be the
Mm.
love of your life. And it is a free app, like I said, and it has premium features available. Right now, they're completely free to the early users. So it's I'm really excited for people to check it out, and hopefully start going on some dates so I can hear some success stories.
Yeah, and also I guess, if for my listeners from around the world, like Anna explained, she is going to get it out there to you guys one day. But in the meantime, I guess, if you look up her website, I'm sure there's a way that they could stay connected in the meantime. Maybe they can sort of, get a little bit more information of exactly what this app provides. So then it just gives them that sense of reassurance that once it's available, hey, this will be good for me. And not only that, I think the most important thing is, you're not alone. We all think we're the only person in the world with this problem.
Mhm.
And well, like I always say, we're not that special, because we've all got these problems. You know what I mean? Like I always say that to people, I ain't that special. So, and I think that's really important, because people can feel like, for the women and for the men who are listening to our podcast and watching, it is important to reach out, to understand there are people out there who are going through, what you're going through, physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and it's okay. There are ways to help people. There are ways to grow. There are ways to feel fulfilled, without being, judged and criticized and put down. So, was there anything else you wanted to share with us at all, Lena?
I don't think so. Just just take that leap and sign up for Entwine. You deserve to be loved
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. Share the love.
That's
Share
right.
the love out there. I think it's really, like I said, I wish you all the best with this app. I'm sure we'll connect in the future. And when I say I wanted to join the app, I don't want to join the app because I need to, but it was just more like, I might even, if you've got like a subscribe for a newsletter or whatever it is, a blog, just to see where your journey's leading, because I want to be able to support you any way I can. And definitely, if I know someone who's going through this, I will be definitely, handing over your information and saying, hey, check this out.
Thank you.
So, was there anything else you wanted to say just before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, great. But I appreciate having you on. I really do. Like I said, please follow Anna. She's on www.entwinedating.com or her Twitter, Entwine Dating, Instagram, Entwine_dating, and Facebook, Entwine Dating. Just before we go, why did you choose the name Entwine?
Well, we were gonna call it, I was gonna call it Comfortable Companions, but, I was told it sounds like diapers, so I, tried to shorten it. But I don't have a very exciting story about it, but I thought entwine, like entwining people's together and causing a connection.
Yeah, I think so, because I just see that whole entwine coming
Yes,
together.
entwining and tying each other.
Coming as one. Yeah. Thank you again so much. And
Thank you.
thanks everyone for listening in. I hope you guys appreciated today's episode. And like always, I wish you so much love and light.